But as I was saying about the 4-step process, let me explain it to you right now. Let's explain the 4-step process. The first stage, God said, many are called, few are chosen. The first stage, God's calling up to you, but the devil is trying to keep you from hearing. That's the first stage. You're listening to, the devil is blocking God's voice from your ears. But if you can get past the point where you are hearing God's voice just a little bit, you can make it to the second stage. The second stage, you willing to listen. The word is soaking into your heart. It's starting to transform you. And then along comes the devil again. And when I say devil, I'm talking about people, places, friends, things, all kind of things. You yourself. God is in the process of trying to get you right. But you don't reach the third stage because you feel it's too hard. You feel the way is too narrow for you. You want to go back to the world, so you fall away back to the world. Then you got the third stage, people. When you know the word, you know what it says, but the deceitfulness of the world and the riches of the world are choking the word up. Now you're a prosperity gospel preacher. You thinking the word of God is about material gain and worldly power and glory, idolatry, covetousness. All this stuff start to bring in as you grow stronger in Christ. The devil's trying to lure you in with the lust of the flesh, the things that are against God, the things that God doesn't want you to seek. You're starting to seek more of earthly things than heavenly things. The best person I can use in regards to this situation is Steve Harvey. And there's many other people I can use. Anybody that preaches prosperity and material gain is the way. They are leading you in the wrong way. That has a lot to do with our covetous practices, luring unstable minds in. So the majority of Christians get stuck there. They get stuck there. Their whole sermons, everything they talk about is, God is finna make you a millionaire. God, I'm not saying God can't. And some people who prophesy that are telling the truth in regard to some people's lives. But that's not the truth for everybody's life. He said, to whom much is given, much is required. Some people are going to be made millionaires by God, or thousandaires. You know what I'm saying? Why? So you can help his people more and feed my sheep more financially, spiritually, all in the same balance. This is the hardest stage to break free from. If I can say anything, I can use Solomon in this stage. He was rich. And the cares for his wives and the things for this world choked up the word and made him unfruitful in old age. He forgot what it was all about. And he made that promise to God. Basically, I'll inherit a curse if I fall away from you, and I won't fall away. If I don't fall away from you, I will inherit a blessing. And a generational curse spread to his son. A lot of people are stuck in generational curses. A lot of them are from the third stage. But the fourth stage, people, is where you're trying to get. The stage that you mind. The stage where you got the keys to the kingdom, that whatever door you open, nobody can shut but the Lord. You got the keys to the kingdom. And what the only stimulation he said to the keys to the kingdom, he said, hold what you have. What are you saying? Don't quit. You have reached a point in your spiritual growth. Stay at it. Don't go back to stage 3. Because this is the thing about backsliding. Now you get to stage 4. You got to stay there. But if you can think about regression, you at stage 4, you're bearing fruit. I'm going to use T.D. Jakes, for example. You at stage 4, you're bearing fruit. Your gospel changed. Your message has changed. God comes in and strips you back down bare. You lose your congregation. You lose this and that. Now you're back at the third stage. Let's say now you get back to the third stage and you fall even further. You're back at the second stage where you don't even want to abide in the word of truth anymore. You ain't even, the second stage, you hearing it a little bit, but you don't want it. You keep going backwards. Then you're going to go back so far when you're at the first stage when you can't even hear God's voice no more. God that allowed your voice to be so hardened as if when you first began. Now you got to work your way back to the fourth stage. And it gets harder each time. So the thing is, you want to stay in it. You want to stay in it. Backsliding is not good. You know, it's not a good thing. It's a terrible thing to fall into the. One of the most terrible verses in the Bible is, I would harden your heart. Think about Pharaoh. God will harden your heart so bad that he'll perform miracles and wonders right to your face that you still can't see it. You still can't see that God. You done turned your back on God for so long that he done allowed it that you can't even listen to him. You can't even hear his voice no more. With much rebukes or nothing, you know where to hear it. You done got so far back in the world that your ears are closed. And after your ears closed, your eyes are closed. Now you just a blind leader of the blind, knowing the word and not doing nothing with it. He done took it from you. He done took all that he done gave you back from you. Just like the one, I held your coin, give it to him. Your spiritual purpose and your spiritual gifts finna transfer to somebody else. Just like Saul and David. Just like Eli and Samuel. That's the worst thing, to see your replacement. Now let's go back to fornication. It's a worse thing to see your replacement. It's a worse thing to see your replacement. I remember before I met my wife, I gotta tell you a story. Before I met my wife, I remember it was May 17th, 6 years ago. Around that time frame, I had met a girl. You remember I said I backslid? I mean, I was praying for the Lord for sexual increase, and I got it. And I met this girl, and I was having sexual intercourse with her on a regular. She ended up going to jail. You know what I'm saying? And she used to contact me in jail. I guess they could send messages. Wherever jail she was at, they could send messages. And she was like, wait for me. I was like, man, I can't make you that promise. Because my thing is like this. I'm seeking a wife. If God put one in my lap, I'm gonna take her. You hear what I'm saying? But she said, wait for me. I got a few months left. And guess when she got out? That's why I trust God. She was like, I get out on May 16th. Guess when her birthday was? May 15th. I'm like, man, so when she told me her birthday was May 15th, I was like, whoa, somebody with a birthday close to mine, we can celebrate. I'm thinking in the future already. So you know what? I stopped. I said, I'm gonna wait for her. I said, she's in jail, getting her life, getting cleansed, getting her life back in order. I was like, you know what? I'll wait for her. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make that promise to you. I'm gonna wait for you. And she was talking to me all the way up to time to get out. And I remember at the time she had a boyfriend. Not a husband, she had a boyfriend. And I tell people all the time, if you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, don't get mad if God sent a husband or a wife and they take them from you. There ain't nothing you can do about it. So that's what was my way of thinking at the same time. At that time, that was my way of thinking. So I'm like, okay, I'll wait for you. So from time she get out, I didn't hear from her. She called me and let me know the number she had when she got out, and I was like, where you at? The 16th passed. Didn't hear from her. My birthday finally come, the 17th. I was like, I'm going out to enjoy myself. I'm gonna go to a club, a bar or something. I'm gonna chill and eat. I'm gonna drink and be merry. I'm gonna enjoy my birthday. And she's supposed to meet up with me that day. So I was like, I pulled off. I said, I'm not gonna stay at my brother's house all day today because it's my birthday. I'm gonna do something. So I drove and I parked by the club. And I waited there. And I was like, I'm gonna see if she's gonna call. I'm gonna give her time. You understand? I know she just got out. Probably she want to see her kids, spend some time with family members, loved ones. Let me see if she's gonna do that. And I never heard for her. I fell asleep waiting in the parking lot in the car. And I woke up, it was about 10. And a voice in my head said, go to the club now. So I went in the club. I went in. And I sat there. And that's the weird thing. There was a woman dancing when I had met her like 3 weeks beforehand. I saw her at the club beforehand, about 3 weeks before that. And she was dancing. And I'm like, whoa, she can dance. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what I said. She's a white girl. I said, she can dance to be a white girl. And that's my preference. I'll just tell y'all this straight up. That's my preference. So I'm like, okay. So I was like, man, I'm shy. I told you I'm shy. It don't sound like right when I talk about the word. I don't seem shy, don't it? But when it comes to relationship purposes, I'm very shy. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, and she came to me, she's like, dance with me. So I danced with her. I was like, well, she can't dance. And she introduced herself to me. I introduced myself to her. And we danced and I sat down. And then I was like, man, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, I'm so hungry right now. I'm about ready to get out of here. And then she came to me right after that and said, hey, are you hungry? Let's go to Waffle House. I'm like, okay, let's go to Waffle House then. So I went to Waffle House. And I had a car at the time. I told the story about the car I had. My boss gave it to my black Cadillac. And she had a car. We drove to Waffle House. She drove her car, I drove mine. So we get in there, we sit down, we start sitting down. We start communicating. She was like, I love Jesus so much. And I was like, what? Like I felt the spirit. I went in the bathroom. I said, I'll be right back. I went in the bathroom and I prayed. I was like, Lord, this woman's talking about God. I love God. She loves God. I'm gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna go with the flow. So I come back in there and she was like, you wanna come to my house? And I went to her house. And I'm gonna be honest, I slept with her. Come to find out her name was Michelle and my name was Houston. And her birthday was on May 18th and my birthday was on May 17th. We met at the club. And I remember shortly after that I moved in with her. And then right after that, God put in my heart, marry her, propose to her. I proposed to her. Fast forward, that's where I am today. You understand, people? We married. God made us, allowed us to get married and everything was working fine, and I can see the devil working in the hand, but I already told you all that part, but that's how I met my wife, trying to meet up with somebody else who told me to wait for them. So, I remember when I met my wife, she had a boyfriend. Now, everything's gonna make sense now. She had a boyfriend, a man that she called her friend that she was communing with. And God put it in her heart to call him in front of me and say, I found somebody. I can't deal with you anymore. A year later, we was married. But that's neither here. I'm not gonna tell you that part yet. But anyway, so I'm staying with her. We're living together. We're engaged. Probably a weeks of after engaged, we got engaged like probably the next month. But I get a call from the girl who told me to wait from her. Her name was Jennifer. I never will forget her name. Her name was Jennifer. And she was like, Houston, I want to see you. And I told her straight up, I said, it's too late. I said, God has placed somebody in my life. And I remember she let out a wail of cry like I have never heard before. Like, no, like a horror movie, like, no. And she cried. And I was like, it is what it is. And I was like, it's over. And I hung up. You could miss your blessings. You could miss who God has meant for you. Anybody can be replaced, people. You know, and I know I found out, I ran into her after that. I remember I ran into her after the fact. And she was in a car with somebody else. Because she was giving me pictures of her, how she has gained so much weight from being in jail, how healthy she was. And I ran into her, I was with my wife. No, I wasn't with my wife, I was driving. And I looked to the right and she spotted me. And she had got real skinny again. She had got back into the world. She fell away. I don't know how she is doing now, but that's the story. That's how I met my wife, who I'm with now. And we had some good times. She led me closer to God. All things work together for those that believe and love God, who are called according to his purpose. She helped me to learn to read the word to your wife. You know what I'm saying? God has blessed us abundantly together. But guess what? During our separation, God still blessed me abundantly. And he still looked out for her. He still worked out for her. I don't hate her. I'm upset with her. I'm disappointed with her in regards to the situation. And I know you might think, oh, you all talking about what you do, what she did. I'm just being real with you. I'm not perfect, but I ain't gonna lie to you people. I'm a God-fearing man. I fear him. And I do my best to do what's pleasing in him. And I feel like my wife is in that situation now. That she's in a moment, in a position where she can be replaced. Do you understand me? And it's all in regards to adultery and fornication. Now, she loves to talk about my ex-wife, how she's a witch. And I said just like that, I said, a witch ain't no different from a bitch. If you get my drift. Sin is sin. Adultery is adultery. Whether a pagan commits adultery or a Christian commits adultery, the act is still adultery. You're no better than her. And I told her about women who I've been with, my wife cheating on me. And you do the same. It hurt my heart. It hurt my soul. And I know for a fact I didn't sleep with no other woman besides my wife for 6 years. And it's still going. Haven't slept with another woman. Yes, I've lusted by the eyes, but I never committed the actual act of fornication since I've been with my wife. I pride myself on being obedient to the Lord. Not that I have pride, I take pride in being able to keep God's commands to the best of my ability. And I know why fornication is wrong. I know how having somebody cheat on you and leave you with somebody else is wrong. My first wife thought it was going to be well for her. Guess what? It didn't. The woman she got with was a woman beater, strict. The man she got with was a woman beater, strict. Didn't let her go nowhere, separated her from her kids. She lost the house that we was in when I left her, or when she kicked me out. Guess what happened? My second wife, the one Michelle, she kicked me out. She lost the house too. This ain't got nothing to do with me. But I believe that I'm anointed by God. I believe I'm chosen by God. And I believe when he say, touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. I believe that with the bottom of my heart. I believe that I am a man of God. And my history shows it. I got a boldness that I can't explain, but through God. But God. That's where my boldness comes from. And I know this for a fact. If you cross me or any of God's chosen, you got another thing coming unless you repent. You better mark my words on this. Actually, mark God's words on this. Touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm. You think friends can't become enemies and you think foes can't become allies? It can happen, son and daughter. I say that because I don't want to say the other word I say most of the time. That's why I say son. Thank y'all New Yorkers for giving me that word. Son, I love it. Glory be to God. But people, I'm only telling y'all what I know. That's it. Fornication is wrong. God does not bless things like that. He's not going to bless you leaving somebody else for somebody else because you're too weak, because you're not strong enough. He's not going to bless it. He's not going to bless your new marriage when you left your marriage through the act of adultery because you feel you fell out of love. Yes, love will cover a multitude of sins, but sometimes the wrong type of love will cause you to sin. But that's not love, that's lust. Sometimes lust will cause you to sin because true love can't cause you to sin. True love won't cause you to sin. Godly love won't cause you to sin. Only lust will. Nowhere in the Bible does it say love cause you to sin. He said love will cover a multitude of sins. People that are mixing lust with love and bringing on themselves swift damnation. Nothing good is going to happen out of my wife sleeping with another. And I'm not telling you to hate her. Pray for her. And I hear a lot of people, man, leave. One thing about Christians, you are not taught to give up easily. You wait as long as you can until God say, enough is enough. Don't take matters in your own hands. And the way I can tell you this works, because the prayer that I focus on the most is the Lord's one. And I can see his inner working. And I can see the prayers that I've told y'all to pray for me over the weeks. Hell, when I told y'all to pray for me, I'm going through hard times, my wife left. And I know that was nothing but God. And I trust y'all prayers. Glory be to God for y'all. But back to the issue at hand, fornication and how wrong it is. Let me pause and I will continue.